And so we reach the end of FLCL Alternative, the second of the FLCL sequels. Unlike with Progressive, where I went through episode by episode, I just covered the first half the first time, and now I'm covering the second half this time. Now, when I covered the first half of FLCL Alternative, I was happy to say that while it still didn't quite measure up to the original series, it was leaps and bounds ahead of Progressive in terms of, well, really in all terms you can imagine. I also said that the one place Alternative consistently faltered at was whenever it was trying to be a FLCL sequel. It was much better suited to just being a slice-of-life series, but it felt like it was being interrupted every time those FLCL elements started shoving their way into the episode. And I didn't mean that in a good way, mind you. It didn't feel like it was an intentional move. Or if it was an intentional move, they did it way too well. So how does the second half hold up? Well, the second half actually managed to fix that problem. In episodes 4 through 6, the FLCL elements actually do feel as if they belong in the series now. I do still wish that they had done that from the beginning, so we didn't have all that awkward cringe in the first half of the series, but the second half of the series figuring it out is still worthwhile. The second half of the series also cements that this was a better thematic successor to the original FLCL than Progressive was. As I said before, this is a coming-of-age story again, but it's done in a slightly different way. The first series, you could say, was learning what it actually means to be an adult and letting go of your perceptions of what you think being an adult means. Alternative, meanwhile, is about accepting that growing up is going to result in some changes that you might not like, but you can't really do any good by resisting them. This is, of course, much, much better than Progressive's message of, I don't know, we're just doing stuff and don't really have any ambition to do anything else, I guess. Whatever. Granted, Alternative didn't handle this theme flawlessly, of course. After all, the incident that really starts to drive these points home kinda comes the heck out of nowhere. May as well get into it now. Let's talk about the bombshell moment from episode 5. Pets, the quietest member of the quartet, has been acting distant recently, and when Kana goes to find out what's going on, well, this being FLCL, it eventually leads to a giant robot causing mayhem. But Pets gets tangled up in that robot, and as Kana tries to save her, that's when Pets reveals that she actually hates Kana. Despite flashbacks showing that they started off as great friends, Pets now has grown to loathe Kana quite passionately. And of course, this comes alongside the revelation that Pets is one of the many humans who is heading to a colony on Mars, because the government has basically decided there's no stopping medical mechanica, so better to relocate than just accept the end of the world. This is the part that's supposed to change everything we thought we knew. It's not exactly a twist per se, but it's still the watershed moment. And I have mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, it really did do an excellent job repainting the events of past episodes. One of the reasons Pets has grown to hate Kana so much is the fact that she's kind of selfish, at least as far as Pets is concerned. All those moments from previous episodes where Kana was going out of her way to help her friends whether they wanted it or not, those moments were apparently not as philanthropic as they first appeared. Kana was doing it more for herself than her friends. This is pretty much confirmed in the last episode when Kana admits it herself. And that does feel like the sort of revelation we would get from a proper FLCL episode. You think a character is like this, but she's actually like this. That sort of thing is perfectly in line with the series. And it feels like a real gut punch when it comes. I mean, it's one thing for friends to just grow distant over time, but for one of them to actually grow to hate the other, that's pretty harsh. However, that's not to say this was handled flawlessly. This revelation has a similar issue to something from FLCL Progressive, though admittedly, once again, Alternative does it better. Allow me to illuminate. The last episode of Progressive rather spontaneously decided that Hidomi's relationship with her mother was the most important relationship of the whole series. Mind you, we really hadn't been given enough of a sense of that relationship prior to that final episode. What little we got felt like just another example of a quirky parent-child relationship that you see so frequently in anime. Honestly, Hidomi's mother felt kind of unimportant. So for the series to suddenly latch on to that relationship and say, yes, this is the one you should have been caring about the whole time, just kind of felt like a last-minute cop-out, as if the showrunners realized, oh crud, our series isn't actually about anything, we've got to throw something in there to make it look like we have substance. In FLCL Alternative, a similar problem weighs down this revelation with Pets. Yeah, she's been the quietest member of the group, but we never really got the sense that she didn't want to be there. It's not as if you can look back at the series and find the small clues that point to this being the case all along. Pets seemed like she was more than happy to be part of the group this whole time. Didn't have any problems with Kana or any reason to be resentful. And sure, maybe you can argue this is connected to her going to Mars, and maybe she's trying to pull the old I'll make them hate me so they don't miss me kind of thing, but even that doesn't really feel like it properly fits. What I'm saying is that it needed a bit more build-up. Granted, it gave us a bit more build-up than Progressive did, but only by a little bit. Basically, even though it was a good moment, it could have been better, but it was still good. And credit must also be given in terms of the fake-out. You know, the part where Kana falls unconscious, and then she wakes up on a beach with all her friends, and Pets has suddenly done a complete 180 and is back to being here and being with the group and saying she loves them all and she's not going to Mars. When I first saw that scene, I did think, there is no possible way they're gonna go with this kind of cheap schmaltzy ending after dropping a bomb like that. And then it turns out it was all in Kana's head, so they didn't. Good on them, they committed to it. And as for how the FLCL elements work themselves in, as I said, during the first half of the series, those elements felt intrusive, but during the second half, they do feel like they actually should be there. I don't really know what the significance of the pins were. The dialogue, at least in the English dub, implied they were somehow connected to the Medical Mechanica iron buildings. I believe what they specifically said was, wherever they appear on the map, there's an iron contained within that perimeter. But then you get shots where that clearly isn't the case, and the pins don't actually wind up doing anything, so yeah, I really don't know what the significance was there, other than just to be visually weird. But aside from that, you actually had things that did work. For example, the way they incorporated Kanti into this series was much better. In Progressive, Kanti just showed up, again spontaneously in the last episode, without any real build-up. He was basically there for fan service. Alternative, meanwhile, played on the idea that Kanti was originally a Medical Mechanica robot, and so it creates a whole army of them to be the opposition. So it brought in something familiar, portrayed it in a different way, but that different way built on something that was hinted at in the original series. That's how you do it. And I suppose I should also mention Haruko herself. It's kind of unusual for me to say it, but Haruko is apparently one of the good guys now. I mean, okay, she's not a hero, but she's definitely not who she used to be. In the original series, Haruko, as described by her English voice actress Kari Walgreen, was just the id. In FLCL, Haruko wants what she wants it now, and she wants it by any means necessary. She isn't really evil, but she's selfish. She's not deliberately trying to hurt anyone, but if she has to hurt someone to achieve her goal, that's acceptable. Definitely made for an interesting character. Progressive, as mentioned, tried to recapture that and wound up missing the point entirely. Alternative, true to its name, goes in a different direction with her. But that different way doesn't necessarily feel like a betrayal of what we know. In this series, Haruko is working with the Earth governments to try and stop Medical Mechanica. But that's not necessarily because she's suddenly gained a new insight into the virtues of altruism. It comes across more as she doesn't like Medical Mechanica and wants to do everything she can to inconvenience them, and working alongside the Earth governments gives her the opportunity to do that. She's not really doing this to save the Earth, she's doing it because it suits her to do so. Admittedly, where this comes from is never really explained. It clearly has nothing to do with Atomisk, he never comes up even once. It might be because she's bored, or it might be because she actually did become a better person after the events of the first series. but again, nothing is really expanded upon. Haruko remains the unpredictable wildcard. It felt as if the finale of the last episode was trying to set up a sequel that would explore a bit more of Haruko's character, but I'm not necessarily sure I think they should. In all honesty, I think Fooly Cooly should end here. I would have told you it should have ended with the original series, but that's clearly not an option anymore. We've got these 2 sequels now, so with their existence, I feel that it really should end here. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Trying to recapture the magic of Fooly Cooly is like trying to catch lightning in a bottle. We've now had 2 series that tried. One of them did better than the other, but neither of them quite managed to do what they set out to do. So let's just end it here. Let Fooly Cooly stand for what it is. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like it, as well as subscribe to the channel for more content of a similar nature. Also, check the description for links to our Twitter, DeviantArt, and Patreon pages, as well as the Amazon link for the novel Operation Red Dragon: The Daikaiju Wars Part 1, penned by yours truly. Thank you all, and we appreciate your support.